Today, we're going to talk about a hidden layer of grammar that's all about truth, possibility, and, well, things that are completely made up. It's called grammatical mood. And once you get it, it's like a superpower for showing exactly how certain you are about what you're saying. So let's dive right in. Think about it. When you speak, is everything you say 100% solid gold fact? Of course not, right? We're always talking about possibilities, wishes, or giving orders. The truth value of what we say isn't just black and white, and English has this brilliant built-in system for signaling exactly where on that spectrum we are. Okay, so let's get our key terms straight. In grammar, mood has nothing to do with feeling happy or sad. It's all about how the form of a verb shows your attitude. Is what you're saying a fact, a wild guess, a command, or something you know is completely unreal? Just think of it as a spectrum of reality. So our journey is going to start at the 100% true end of that spectrum. This is where we find the most common mood of all, the indicative. This is simply the language of facts. The indicative mood is basically our default setting. It's what we use for things we believe are true, statements, about the present, the past, and even the future. Yep, and that's where things start to get really interesting. So check this out. Normally, the future feels uncertain, so you might say the movie will start. But when something's on a fixed schedule, like a movie time, or it's scientifically predictable, like a sunrise, English treats it like a hard fact. We actually use the simple present tense, starts or is, to show just how certain it is. And this same logic applies to those if-then sentences about the future. In the if part, we say, if you are late, using the present tense. Why? Well, because to even talk about the consequence, you'll be fired, we have to pretend, just for a moment, that the condition is a sure thing. It's like saying, okay, let's just assume this happens, then what? All right, let's take a step away from that 100% certainty and wander into the realm of maybe. This is the conditional mood, the language of possibilities and what-ifs. Now, the conditional mood is super easy to spot. The second you drop in a word like may, might, or could into a sentence, boom, you've just shifted from stating a fact to talking about a possibility. You've gone from the indicative to the conditional. Simple as that. But here's a crucial little detail. Could isn't always just the past tense of can. A lot of the time, it actually expresses a greater level of uncertainty. So a doctor saying it can be AIDS is pointing to a very specific, real possibility. But if they say it could be anything, whoa, they've just opened the door to a much wider, way more speculative range of options. The mood is just less certain. So how do you make a guess about something that already happened? I mean, these modal verbs don't really have a simple past tense form. Well, there's a trick. There's a formula. You take the modal verb, add have, and then the past participle of the main verb. So, it may rain is a guess about right now, but it may have rained. That's a guess about yesterday. And now for the really mind-bending part. We're moving all the way to the other end of the spectrum, to a place where we talk about things we know are absolutely not real. Welcome to the powerful and, yeah, kind of strange, subjunctive mood. I absolutely love thinking of the subjunctive as the speaking in opposites mood. It's what we pull out for wishes, things we don't actually have. It's for hypotheses, situations that aren't true. It is the language of unreality, and it has a very, very cool trick up its sleeve. Here's the secret. The subjunctive basically messes with time to signal that something isn't real. To talk about an unreal situation happening right now, you use a past tense verb. And to talk about an unreal situation in the past, you have to jump even further back into the past perfect tense. It's like a little bit of grammatical time travel. Let's see it in action. The classic example. The reality in the present is simple. I am not you. So to express this idea that's contrary to fact, we time travel. The verb am gets shifted back to its past form, were. That little change is the signal flag. It tells everyone, hey, we're in the subjunctive mood. What I'm saying isn't true right now. And now, let's see how this works for the past. The reality here is, I didn't know earlier. That's a past fact. So to create this unreal hypothesis, we have to go one step even further back in time from the simple past. We use the past perfect. If I had known. That verb tense is like a big flashing sign that says, warning, what I'm about to say did not actually happen. Okay, for our final stop, we're looking at a mood that's not about what is true or isn't true, but about what we desperately want to be true. This is the imperative mood. The imperative is how we try to bend the world to our will. It's the mood of action.
When you give a command, you're expressing a desire for a new reality to pop into existence, one where your command has been followed.
The most obvious form is, of course, a direct command. The verb is in its simplest, most basic form: leave, sit, listen. The subject, you, is just understood, so we usually leave it out. It's direct, it's powerful, it gets right to the point.
But this also works for indirect commands, which is pretty cool. Normally we'd say the witness leaves, right, with an S? But because the sentence is reporting a demand, an imperative, the verb actually stays in its base form, leave. This rule applies after words like demand, insist, request. It keeps that commanding tone even when you're talking about it secondhand.
So there we have it. We've journeyed all the way across the spectrum of reality, from solid facts to imaginary wishes. And understanding mood isn't just some dusty old grammar rule. It's about gaining a genuine superpower in how you communicate. So let's recap real quick. The indicative mood, that's for facts, what is true. The conditional, for possibilities, what might be true. The subjunctive, for things that are not true. And finally, the imperative is for commands, what we want to be true. Each one gives your words this incredible precision and intent. By consciously choosing your mood, you're not just throwing words out there anymore. You're actually signaling your exact relationship to the truth of what you're saying. So the question isn't just what you'll say anymore, it's how true will you say it is. Now that's a power to use wisely.